Hey everybody, this is Anthony with VR Game Rankings. Merry Christmas. It is December 25th. This is Monday, December 25th, and this is episode 60 of the VR Game Rankings daily vlog series, and it of course is Christmas Day. And so I want to wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is you celebrate. And if you're of the bah humbug variety, you know, I can feel you as well. And sometimes I get into that bah humbug state and I just want this whole thing to be over with and get back to normalcy. So if you're in that situation, that's fine as well. But let's go ahead and get into a different kind of a show today. Now, I talked about this on Friday's episode. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the three primary VR platforms that we have today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give about 8 minutes of time to each of these three major platforms and just kind of talk about where is the platform right now, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what is its grade maybe right now, and where is it going. So let's go ahead and start it right off, and I'm going to go ahead and start things off with the Oculus Rift first, okay? So now Oculus Rift, when I look at the Oculus Rift platform, you have to be very pleased with how Oculus has performed in the year 2017. Lots of great things have happened for the Oculus Rift in 2017. A ton of incredible software has come due for them and has ripened on the vine, if you will, and it has been ready to be released in 2017. They really took advantage of that. But maybe more importantly, were the various price cuts that they entertained, because that is the key to taking VR to a new level and trying to get VR out there into the mainstream, get more people to jump on board. Do you guys remember back in 2016 when we had all these people that just absolutely hated VR, and we really dealt with the VR haters? There were all these threads on NeoGAF, so many people just pouring on all kinds of hate for VR gaming. That seems to have changed a little bit over this year, and I think it's in no small part to the Oculus Rift major sale that they had, of course, in the summer of Rift. $399 for an Oculus Rift with touch. Such an incredibly attractive package that you see that box over there, you see that combination. I woke up one random day and I saw, oh my God, the Rift is $399 and you get touch. Can you believe that? And then all the free games that are included. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I headed out to Best Buy that same exact day and I took one of these babies home, and on my receipt I had a code for Eve Valkyrie because I got it at Best Buy, and then you get all those free games that they give you with touch, just showered with great software. What an incredible deal. And that's helped so many additional people come aboard the Oculus Rift. And then of course, when we get to the Black Friday situation and where we are here in December, there have been additional deals on the Oculus Rift. You can get an Oculus Rift as low as $350 if you watch for some of these deals. There was even a deal where you could get the Oculus Rift, I think, for $399, but there was a $100 gift card, so you're almost getting the Oculus Rift for $300. So the one thing that we have to say in regards to Oculus is they've done an incredible job with their pricing, probably actually better than the other two companies, better than HTC Vive, better than PlayStation VR, considering how much the Oculus Rift costs in the first place and how they were able to lower that cost. That is huge. Oculus is in a situation right now where they can bundle the Rift with a computer for $1,000 and they could get somebody into VR for $1,000, and that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Into PC VR for $1,000, around $700 for a tower, $300 for the Rift, and some type of package deal. This is something that they can do, something they'll probably be doing in the very near term, and so that looks good as well. Now, when it comes to the long-term dominance. And then the other thing about Oculus Rift that we can't forget here is Dash 2.0 and what they've brought to home, how they've dramatically improved home. Now you can use, one of the things that I've been doing with my Oculus Rift lately is I can get into my Oculus Rift and you can just access your desktop. So I get into my Oculus Rift, and if I need to do something with Steam, I can open it up while I'm inside Oculus Rift and I can set up whatever Steam game it is, get it started up. I don't have to take off the headset, go over to the computer, fidget around with that, go back, put my headset on. So that is an incredible benefit, and that's something that's come to us recently. The touch controllers, of course, launched late in 2016, but for most of 2017, the touch controllers have been a new thing, and it's been a wonderful thing. These are well-designed controllers. They melt into your hands. Probably the biggest advantage that the Oculus Rift really has. And then the best part about it too is you can get these Oculus Rift controllers for not a huge amount of money. So if you have a problem with one of these controllers, you can buy some more and you can get them, and you're not paying like $150 or whatever crazy amount it is with the HTC Vive once you add the tax and the shipping and all of that. And so that is a tremendous benefit that Oculus has. They have probably the best controllers of all the VR systems that are out there right now. They've got a great price, and they've just been absolutely hammering it with exclusive content, not only game content, but non-game content. Think about Mayubi. Think about Blade Runner 2049. Think about Coco. Think about all the experiences like Dispatch that have recently come to the Oculus platform that technically is their exclusives. Now, of course, people with Revive could probably try a lot of this stuff, but if you want it truly native, if you want it to feel good, you probably want to do it in the Oculus Rift. Now, one of the questions that we have to go to at this point is, well, what about next year? Like, what is coming up for the Oculus Rift platform that people have to be excited for? Well, obviously you got Marvel Powers United VR. This is probably one of the biggest VR games that is coming in 2017 that we know of, and this is coming exclusively to the Oculus Rift. It's being developed by Sanzaru Games. They did such a great job with VR Sports Challenge, did an admirable job with Ripcoil. They're using the Robo Recall engine, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel here. They can use that engine but design their own game and add a lot of great features to it. So really looking forward to Marvel Powers United VR. Obviously, Budget Cuts is coming sometime in 2018. We're certainly looking for that on the Oculus Rift. The Half-Life 2 VR mod is something that we're excited about as well. Hopefully that will eventually find the light of day. Resident Evil 7. Now, there's been no announcement about this, but Resident Evil 7 will pass its 1-year exclusivity in late January. So assuming that it is a 1-year exclusivity, very soon we should hear some news about Resident Evil 7 coming to the PC VR platforms, and that includes the Oculus Rift. So I fully expect Oculus Rift gamers to be able to play Resident Evil 7 probably February of this upcoming year. Skyrim VR. Skyrim VR is likely a year away, so it's a long ways away. We can't get too excited about it, but Skyrim is probably going to be out November 2018, and that is going to be a huge monster game. And even though it might not be available on the Oculus Store, I can tell you right now, I'm playing a hell of a lot of Fallout 4 on my Oculus Rift. Everything seems to be working fine. As long as you're patient and you're willing to deal with the fact that the first week might be a bit screwed up, after that, people will figure it out. They'll dial it in. There's a lot of other good stuff that is coming to the Oculus Rift as well. It has certain exclusives like Brass Tactics. Brass Tactics coming February 22nd. Ken is coming sometime in January. That is an exclusive. That's pretty much it from what I'm looking at right here. I'm looking at the top 20 most wanted Oculus Rift games, but it's got a lot of heat that is coming next year in 2018. And before we get out of here, as far as talking about the Oculus Rift platform, I think I need to touch really quick on CV2, Consumer Version 2. Will we see Consumer Version 2 in 2018? Well, Jason Rubin has already gone on record as saying there will not be a Consumer Version 2 released in 2018. Now, that may be true, but it's very possible in the back half of 2018, we could get an announcement about CV1 coming in early 2019. We could get a sneak peek at what CV2 could possibly bring to the table. Of course, there is the Santa Cruz prototype that could come out later in 2018, and we're of course going to get our hands on the Oculus Go at some point in 2018 for $199, talking about broadening that reach of VR. So everything is looking very bright on the Oculus camp. Do I have a worry? Do I have a concern in Oculus land? My only real concern over there is that they've provided so many hits on such a regular basis, funding a lot of this stuff with that original $250 million nest egg that they were going to use for a lot of that stuff, that you got to wonder when that well is going to run dry and what is going to happen when that well runs dry. So that's really the only negative I can point to in regards to the Oculus Rift. Everything else is looking up. Certainly the USB situation is irritating. I can tell you when it comes to the CV2, they better ditch this idea of having USB type sensors. They need to figure out another way to do that. That's without question. But everything else, been very happy with the Oculus Rift platform. I think it's doing very well. I would give it a very solid grade. I would give it probably a B+ or an A- as if I was rating it for 20. You know, honestly, I think I got to give it an A- with all the price drops, all the games that they've brought out. I think it deserves an A-. Okay, so that is the Oculus Rift platform. Now let's go ahead and bounce over to the competitor, the HTC Vive. Yeah, so here's the thing about the HTC Vive. You see that HTC Vive box over there? Now you guys might know that I recently sold off my HTC Vive, so some of you might think, hey, Anthony isn't aboard the HTC Vive train anymore. How are we even going to trust this guy talking about the HTC Vive? Well, let me tell you a little story. I jumped on the HTC Vive bandwagon extremely early, okay? I ordered my HTC Vive before they were ever available. I got mine in late April of 2016, that very first month. I was delayed a little bit, but I was one of the launch guys. I was there from day one. I've been down with the HTC Vive since day one. And if you don't believe me, I have a podcast called The Vivecast that I used to do. That's how much I was into the HTC Vive. It was called The Vivecast, okay? So I am definitely a fan of the HTC Vive platform. My selling away the system has nothing to do with the HTC Vive platform. I plan on buying another Steam VR headset in the very near future. So just wanted to get that out in the open. But in terms of where is HTC Vive right now? Well, they are hurting in a number of ways. We have to be honest about this. We have to look at this situation rationally. First of all, their price is a bit on the high side. Now, Oculus has really hammered them with the pricing, and they just haven't been in a range where they could compete head-to-head with the pricing. They've done the best they can. They've lowered it to $599. They're throwing in some bonuses, like Fallout 4 VR is a major bonus that they're throwing in right now. Sometimes you can get that deluxe audio strap thrown in, so they're doing a number of different things. That's good. They have Viveport. They've been bringing some of their own Viveport games, their own HTC Vive kind of funded games have been coming on. We know we have Reboant, Rise of the Newhort, that's coming in the near term. So they have stuff like that. They've been doing some things on the side. So you do have to give HTC Vive a little credit. And you know what? You really need to give HTC Vive credit in the fact that if you look at the sales of these various platforms, despite the fact that the Oculus Rift has been significantly cheaper, the HTC Vive has been able to hold its own. It's been able to hold very solid. Now, a lot of this is with tremendous support in Asian countries, in China, and over in the various Asian markets. The HTC Vive has done extremely well, very popular there among VR arcades and things of that nature. So that's really helped it out, and it's given it kind of this worldwide appeal. And then also, if you go to a forum like NeoGAF, what you find out is if you want the absolute most premier tracking in VR. Nothing can touch the HTC Vive right now. The HTC Vive is the absolute leader when it comes to flawless tracking, when it comes to completely legit room scale. One of the huge advantages that the HTC Vive has on the Oculus Rift is, think about, I've got 4 sensors here for my Rift. I've got wires going all over the place up here. You can't see them because luckily they're black and they're kind of hidden. But let me tell you, you don't have that problem if you have an HTC Vive. You don't have to worry about running wires all over the damn place. That is a huge monster advantage. Now, what does HTC need to improve? The controllers. The controllers are outdated. I remember when I got my controllers back in April 2016, they felt so next level. They felt so high end. The haptic feedback, the touchpad, it all felt futuristic. It all felt really cool. But over time, especially since the arrival of the Oculus Touch controllers, we've come to know that these HTC Vive wands, they're big, they're bulky, they're kind of unwieldy. They really should have thumbsticks on them somewhere. We just didn't get any of that. Now, of course, we are hoping for the future. We're hoping with Knuckles. Will there be an HTC Vive 2? Will we get that announcement this year? Now, Jason Rubin came out, said no CV2, but will we get an HTC Vive version 2? I think the chances are halfway decent, especially when you're going to have other companies that are going to be jumping into the mix, companies like LG, and who knows what other companies could be on the horizon. Obviously, Pimax is throwing their hat into the race. So you're going to have these other competitors coming into the scene. HTC is going to have to step their game up. They're going to have to come with some new hardware. So I do believe we're going to get a new Vive at some point in 2018. Now, it could be 1.5, okay? It could be like the 1.5 version of the Vive, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Now, what about the game side of a thing? Let me go ahead and take a look at the games. Obviously, you know, budget cuts is a big one. Half-Life 2 VR mod, we're waiting for that, of course. Resident Evil 7, just like all the Oculus players, we're anxiously looking forward to Resident Evil 7 hitting our HTC Vive. Skyrim VR, we know it's a year away, but it's eventually going to get there. Seeking Dawn looks really beautiful. Transference looks like it's going to be really exciting in the spring. Megaton, Rainfall, Windlands 2, Apex, Construct, Dimension Dude. There's a lot of good stuff that is coming to the HTC Vive. Now, it doesn't necessarily have a lot of the kind of exclusives that Oculus does in terms of like Marvel's Powers United VR and all the other little cinematic things that Oculus seems to have exclusives. But hey, if you're an HTC Vive owner, you do have the benefit of having somebody like Cross VR that does such an incredible job for the overall VR community to allow HTC Vive owners access to a lot of this great Oculus stuff. So there is that. What is my final grade for the HTC Vive? Well, honestly, I would probably give the HTC Vive a C+ or a B-, and I think a lot of this is just due to the price, and it's also due to the fact that I don't think anybody has held a gun to HTC's head and forced them not to make some minor upgrades to their package. And what I'm talking about really is I'm talking about like including the deluxe audio strap. Like that should really be built in. You can go ahead and sell this as a separate accessory for all the people out there that have already bought Vives. You could still sell a ton of these, but why not include it into new versions of the Vive, give it that boost? So I really wish they put that deluxe audio strap in there. I really wish they would revise their controllers. I'm really hopeful that some of this stuff is going to happen. We're going to get some announcements for this stuff later this year. We got CES coming very soon. Who knows? A bomb could get dropped at CES. You just don't know. So there could be some super exciting stuff on the horizon when we talk about the future of the HTC Vive. And part of the HTC Vive's future is really the Steam VR platform in general, right? And we're very much expecting an announcement from LG and other participants that could enter the fray and take over that Steam VR mantra. So there could be other companies that could fill in the gaps where HTC Vive has been slipping. So there's lots of possibilities there if you want a Steam VR headset going forward. Okay, so let's get to our final platform, and that, of course, is PlayStation VR. Now, I know I probably have a greater number of PC VR viewers than I do PlayStation VR owners, but some of you guys own both of these systems, and some of you guys are similar to Gary of VR Roundtable. You took advantage of an incredible deal where you could get a PlayStation VR headset along with a camera, along with Gran Turismo Sport for $200. How incredible is that? This is where we need to give Sony some serious props in the fact that they are doing a hell of a job spreading the good word of VR. We talk about rising tides lifts all boats, and that is so true. And I have to say that the PlayStation VR, as well as it's selling right now, this is a great thing for all of us. You could be an HTC Vive owner right now, and you might be thinking, you know what, I don't give a damn about PlayStation VR, but it's helping you out. Think about all the great games that were on PSVR first that have now come to the HTC Vive. I'm talking about stuff like Headmaster, stuff like Super Hypercube, stuff like Thumper, a lot of great games that were on PlayStation VR that have now made the journey over to the HTC Vive. Ancient Amuletter, there's just all kinds of stuff that is continuing to come to the HTC Vive from PlayStation VR. And a lot of these games are absolutely outstanding games. So the growth of PSVR is good for everybody in the VR community overall. And really where Sony has been killing it is with their pricing. And this has been more later on, of course, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and these Christmas type deals that they've been doing. This is where they've really turned the corner. The other thing that you got to give Sony some tremendous respect for is they continue to bring heavy hitting exclusives repeatedly to the table. I mean, they have brought Skyrim VR, which has been powerful. They started the year off with Resident Evil 7. I mean, they started it off with an incredible exclusive there. They capped off the year with an incredible exclusive in Skyrim VR. And then in the middle, they had Farpoint. So they've been doing a great job of hammering us with just high-end exclusive content. But the key factor that they're bringing to the table is they're not letting up. They're keeping that foot on the pedal. They're pushing it down. They're accelerating, because when you look at E3, when you look at the various trade shows that have happened where they've been showing off all the new games that are coming out, Sony has some serious heat that is coming in 2017. The one advantage that Sony clearly has over the Vive and over the HTC, over the Oculus Rift and the Vive, the clear advantage is their most wanted list is way the hell better. They got stronger games that are coming. That's one of the reasons Gary probably jumped on the bandwagon, and it's one of the reasons you guys might want to consider jumping on the bandwagon. If you have a PlayStation 4 system somewhere in your house, and 70 million of us do around the world, then it's only $200 to add this thing on, and you could be trying some incredible games. Let me tell you about some of the incredible games that are coming in 2018 to PlayStation VR. Many of these are exclusives. Blood and Truth. Blood and Truth is my single most wanted game, period. That is coming to PlayStation VR. That's the power there. The Impatient is coming on January 24th. That is a major banger. Star Child looks great. And if you can get access to a PlayStation VR and the demo disc number 2, you can try Star Child and tell me that it isn't impressive. I think it's incredibly impressive. Moss looks wonderful. Wipeout Omega Collection, tremendously powerful. Dreams is going to have VR support. The Persistence and Bravo team are coming. Lots of incredibly powerful stuff is coming to PlayStation VR. They've got a lot of great exclusives that are coming. Stuff like Smash Hit Plunder coming from Triangular Pixels. That is the studio behind Unseen Diplomacy. Incredible game. Now, does Sony have some problems? Yeah, they definitely got some problems. Obviously, the biggest problems are the Move controllers. Now, of course, what everybody out there is yelling about is they want thumbsticks on the Move controllers. They want new and improved Move controllers. And here's my answer to that dilemma. chill the F out. Okay, that's my answer. Chill the F out. We got to use the Move controllers that we have now. Let's deal with the Move controllers that we have now, and good things come to those who wait. And let me tell you guys, when we get to November 2019, I know it's a long time away. I know it's like 2 years away. But if we can have a little bit of patience, November 2019 will see the launch of PlayStation 5, but guess what is going to accompany that beautiful PlayStation 5? Yep, it's going to be PlayStation VR 2 is going to come out in November 2019, and it is going to have so many improvements over this original Sony system. One of the biggest problems, one of the biggest shortcomings of the PlayStation VR is the incredibly tiny sweet spot that PlayStation VR has to deal with. And you know PlayStation VR 2 is not going to have that problem. It's not going to have a tiny sweet spot. It's going to have blacker blacks. It's going to have a better screens in there. It's going to have better lenses. Sony is tirelessly working on this kinds of stuff. This is in their ballpark. They are going to figure this out. They know how important this is. They have a massive lead over Xbox. If you just look at the console VR space, what about Microsoft? Oh my God, I need to do a special show just on what the heck is going on with Microsoft, because when it comes to Xbox, if you want VR on the console, Sony is the only game in town. And look at this lead they got. They've got a 2-year lead right now, but they're going to have a 3-year lead by the time Microsoft finally releases a VR headset for the Xbox platform. So Sony is in a very good position. Now, do they need new controllers? They absolutely do. But you don't bring out new controllers now, because then you divide your market in half. You have the haves and the have-nots. That's not something we want to deal with. Let's deal with the Move controllers the way they are. They can still do a damn good job. We've seen it with Skyrim. We've seen it with a number of PSVR games that work just fine with these Move controllers. Is it a little hamstrung? Sure, but we can survive another 2 years. And PSVR 2 is going to bring the thunder in November 2019. But Sony's doing a great job. You know, they got the best price there. They're really being a great evangelist for the VR future, so things are going well. Okay, guys, so I probably went a little bit longer than 8 minutes on some of these platforms, but that's okay. This has kind of been my state of VR show for the 3 platforms. Did I miss out on a lot of topics to possibly talk about on all 3 of these platforms? Sure. I could dedicate an entire show to each one of these platforms. There's tons of stuff to talk about, so many things to touch on. But I wanted to try to give a little bit of juice to each of the 3 major platforms and kind of sum up where they are right now, where are they going, and what does the future look like. And I'll tell you what, the future looks incredibly bright. We have people jumping aboard this VR train all the time. So many people buying PSVR, so many people buying Oculus Rifts. Lots of people buying HTC Vives as well. We're going to have new headsets coming next year that are going to entice even more people, and there's going to be some incredible VR experiences that are going to come that are going to entice even more people as well. So the future is incredibly bright, so we have to feel really pleased about that. And basically, guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. This has been episode 60. I hope you enjoyed it. Today is December 25th. It is Christmas, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope everybody is having a safe and wonderful Christmas out there. Play some VR and be thankful for this great stuff that we have. We are living in a wonderful time and a wonderful place to be seeing this incredible next level technology, first-hand experiences. We are on the cutting edge. This is incredible. So really looking forward to continuing to bringing you guys this type of discussion going forward. So definitely stay tuned to the VR Game Rankings channel. All right, guys, that's pretty much going to do it. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a regular show covering the news and all of that. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful Christmas day. Take it easy. Later.